Today, I want to discuss about one of the newest and most talked about items in Mobile Legends, Skypiercer. I'm sure many of you have already used this item or have suffered at the hands of it. But what I want to do today is to analyze if Skypiercer is actually overpowered or is it just overhyped. So let's start with the stats on this item. Skypiercer gives plus 60 adaptive attack and plus 15 movement speed. Adaptive attack is a stat that will give either magic power or physical attack depending on your hero's damage type, or which stat you have more of from items. For example, this is a Nolan without any items. If we buy Skypiercer, it will give us plus 60 physical attack, since Nolan's damage type is physical. However, if we bought an item that gives us magic power, like Mystery Codex which gives us plus 15 magic power, Skypiercer's adaptive attack will instead give us plus 60 magic power instead of physical attack, since we have more item magic power stats than physical attack. Based on gold efficiency of attack stats, Skypiercer is actually pretty decent, giving 4 magic power or physical attack stats per 100 gold spent. So if the hero has good magic power or physical attack scaling, this item is actually a pretty good buy based on that alone. For reference, the average gold efficiency of physical items is 3.15, and for magic items, it's 3.6. So Skypiercer is a pretty efficient investment in terms of gold spending on attack stats. The plus 15 movement speed is also nice and helps to rotate faster or for chasing and kiting enemies better. However, I should also point out that there are much cheaper options for gaining 60 attack stats. Legion Sword costs 910 gold and gives 60 physical attack, so it's 590 gold or around 40% cheaper. Magic Wand plus Mystery Codex together also gives 60 magic power and costs 1120 gold, so it's 380 gold or around 34% cheaper. Another problem with Skypiercer is its slot efficiency. Every player can only have 6 item slots, and having Skypiercer takes up one of those slots. While many items are much more expensive than Skypiercer, they also offer way more stats or have more valuable and consistent passives. For example, Endless Battle also offers 60 attack and costs 830 more gold than Skypiercer. However, it also offers plenty of other useful stats along with a consistent true damage passive. Almost all tier 3 items are more slot efficient than Skypiercer as they offer more stats. However, the main draw of Skypiercer is actually its unique passive, which reads, after dealing damage to an enemy hero, executes the hero if their HP is lower than 4%, gains 10 stacks of life bane for each kill, and loses 30% of current stacks for each death. Each stack of life bane increases the HP threshold of the execute effect by 0.1%, stacking up to 80 times. Basically, this means that if you deal damage to an enemy hero and their HP is below 4%, they will be immediately killed. We can grow that 4% limit by securing more kills. Each kill while having Skypiercer gives us 10 stacks, and each stack increases the limit by 0.1%. So basically, each kill increases that limit by 1%. So if you get 2 kills, you will have 20 stacks and the limit increases to 6%. However, you will lose 30% of your stacks if you die. So for example, if you had 6 kills and you had 60 stacks but then you died after, you will lose 30% of 60 stacks, which is 18 stacks. So you will end up with 42 stacks. That means the new limit will be 8.2% instead of 10%. This all sounds pretty good, and instant execute when an enemy falls below a certain HP is pretty amazing, until we do the numbers. Now, in Mobile Legends, kills are not really a certainty, especially when you're playing in solo queue. You can sometimes even end a game with less than 8 kills, so you might never even unlock the full potential of Skypiercer throughout an entire game. Plus, dying also makes it weaker, so overall, this makes the passive risky and inconsistent. Now, let's analyze if the passive is actually even good in the first place. If supposed, in an unlikely scenario that we do not land a single kill throughout the game, so we are stuck with the 4% HP limit, how good is Skypiercer then? So let's just create a few enemy examples here. So I will compare squishy targets and tanky targets. Squishies will usually be assassins, marksmen, or mages who typically focus on building damage and have low HP growth, while tanky targets are fighters or tanks that focus on building tank items which usually grow their HP. So let's discuss about the early game. Here's the average HP value based on my experience. So if we are sitting at no stacks, the execution damage is pretty bad, even against a tanky hero. However, it starts getting pretty significant as we approach max stacks. At full stacks, that's 600 damage against a tank, which is a lot against a tank, especially against one with high defense. However, the problem is that it requires 8 straight kills with no deaths, with Skypiercer already bought when we started the killing. To say the least, that's unrealistic at level 7. Realistically, we are looking at 0 to around 20 stacks at this point, which means the execution range is roughly 160 to 300 HP. That's honestly pretty low and insignificant. Moving on to mid-game, through HP growth and items, we can expect the average HP to be roughly these values. The execution damage to squishies is roughly similar, since their HP pools don't really grow much, as they focus on getting damage items and their HP growth isn't high. However, Skypiercer damage can become quite significant against tanky targets if you manage to obtain stacks. At 40 stacks, execution HP is at 600, which is pretty significant. If you can get to 80 stacks, that's 900 HP, which is huge. If we look at the late game, Skypiercer execution limit on squishies largely remains the same, but the execution limit on tanky and very tanky targets become extremely significant. At 40 stacks, we can expect execution HP at around 720 to 880 HP. And if you manage to maintain 80 stacks, the limit is around 1080 to 1320 HP. So, what can we really tell from these results? Well, firstly, Skypiercer is quite unnecessary for squishy targets. You can pretty much gain the same amount of damage with other items that provide more consistent and helpful passives or stats than with Skypiercer. However, killing them does become easier if you can maintain close to full stacks from mid-game onwards. Against tanky targets, the execution HP limit is actually pretty high if you can maintain a good amount of stacks on Skypiercer. This makes securing the kill on them much easier and is especially useful against sustained fighters who like to fight at lower HP. Having Skypiercer with a good amount of stacks will definitely make them think twice about staying in the fight for that much longer. Additionally, Skypiercer also ignores shields and only focuses on the HP percentage of the target. What this means is that if a low HP target generates a shield but is within the HP limit of Skypiercer, that target will still be executed if he is damaged. This is especially useful against heroes like Hanabi and Esmeralda, who generate plenty of shields with their abilities. In general, I would recommend this item for kill securing snowball heroes such as Roger and Karina, as well as many assassins like Hellcat and Nolan. It would also work nicely with one-shot burst heroes like Eudora and Cho, as they can effectively secure kills to gain stacks. Long-range poke heroes such as Novaria and Clint can also benefit from the execution passive to finish off escaping low HP targets. So, is Skypiercer overpowered or overrated? The community opinion seems to think that this item is overpowered. And in a sense, I would say it is in the right conditions. However, getting those right conditions is not only difficult but inconsistent. In my opinion, buying Skypiercer is almost like a gamble. You might go on a killing rampage and supercharge the passive early, which leads to an unstoppable snowball. Or, your teammates KS all your kills and the item just sits there as a glorified Legion sword. Basically, it's really dependent on being able to secure a kill streak. Because of how inconsistent Skypiercer can be, I would say it's actually pretty overrated. However, I must say that it's a pretty strong item against a tanky lineup, especially if you can get a couple of stacks going. The fact that it can execute at above 800 HP with around 40 stacks is significant and will definitely cause tanky heroes to think twice about engaging carelessly. So, what do you think about Skypiercer? Do you still think it's overpowered and should be nerfed? Let me know in the comments. As always, thank you for watching and I'll see you again in the next one.